Hi everyone, and welcome to the Scrumcast podcast, episode 2, presented by JSCOACHING. Today I am joined with the directors and owners of Little Scrummers Rugby and also Red Sportswear. Andy and Holly are joining us live from Essex tonight. So Andy, Holly, welcome. How are you both?
Hey, yeah, no, we're good, thank you. Thank you for having us as well.
Okay, good evening, Jordan. It's exciting. I'm a little bit nervous. It's the first time we've done one of these.
We've done a podcast. I feel like we're just like, welcome to the 21st century.
This is now, you are now in the 21st century. So basically, the Scrumcast podcast is a place for grassroots coaches to get a better understanding of how they can work up the ladder, what different opportunities are available to them, and you know the story behind the JSCOACHING platform was to share my experience as a coach and how I can, the journeys that I've gone through, the lessons that I've learned across the past 7-8 years now of coaching, and really pass that on to the next generation of coaches. So the Scrumcast is very it's open, it's free flowing. There's no kind of major big questions. It's just like an open, casual conversation. Hence why we're using the stereo app. It's just kind of really free, as if we do a normal kind of phone call, as it were.
Well. Sorry, just to interject there. Sorry, Jordan. Well, like literally, what you've just explained about obviously JSCOACHING. For us, probably at Little Scrummers, you are like the what's the word I'm trying to think of? I
don't know what you're thinking most of the time.
the like model, the model kind of coach for us. Obviously, you started off when you were young as a junior coach. You worked up with obviously Simon, and then going to open your own class. So yeah, absolutely. So I'm just putting the synergy between Little Scrummers and your podcast. Oh, that's a big word. I know, big word for me.
It's a big word for a Thursday night. So
it really is.
So I guess a little bit of background first about my experience with Scrummers. Obviously, I started at the age of 15 coaching with Little Scrummers. I obviously started at Peterborough Centre as a volunteer junior coach. Before as Carly, or there was Carly that owned it at the time, but before Holly just said, working my way up through the ranks to be a lead coach at Cambridge now over the past kind of year. Obviously mentioned Carly because obviously the business was owned by Carly, who formed it however many years ago it was now. Before
2011, wasn't it?
2011, I think it was around then, yeah. And then obviously last year it was bought out by you guys as well. So I suppose just a bit of background from both of you. I obviously got you guys to write a nice little kind of simple bio, and obviously I think from a rugby perspective, I think it's an interesting story because obviously Andy, you're very kind of rugby based. You've always kind of come from a rugby background and gone through the ranks to quite a high level. Whereas Holly, you've not really come from a rugby background. It's come from a more entertainment kind of background. So, and when obviously we heard that you were buying the company, and we kind of looked into kind of, who is Andy, who is Holly, and you kind of gave us this kind of information about us. It was interesting to see how, Andy, you played at county level and regional level rugby, and as part of the Saracens squad and England schoolboys, and then obviously Holly, you've come from a gymnastics and a theatre performer with Disney Cruise Lines. It's obviously a big kind of difference between the two aspects and how that's kind of come together.
Yeah, absolutely. To be fair,
there's a big common denominator though, in the sense that both Holly and I have experienced high level sport at a younger age.
Yeah.
So we know what we wanted to do. We know what it feels like not to quite get there. And we know what part of the journey comes after that, because let's face it, when you're talking about high level sport, it is a very few gifted people that actually make it. But as I say, I've still got lifelong friends from the rugby side of things. Some still play at an elite level. Others have played and come back down. Others are working with us. I think Holly, yours pretty much the same from your background across that as well.
Obviously, I started off gymnastics, as Jordan said. I was a gymnast through and through. I was national level at gymnastics. And then when I got to 11, I was doing both dancing and gymnastics, and I did a UK tour of Roald Dahl Twits. I was a muggle one, so I was one of the monkeys. And then at that point in my life, at 11, I decided, I was like, my career was definitely going to be within musical theatre. So at that point, I kind of put more my gymnastics onto more, probably say like a participant level, grassroots, rather than moving forward with the kind of it's really sad with gymnastics though. When you get to about 11 or 12, if you're not on like the GB path, you're pretty much, you can only go so far. And I wasn't on the GB path, so I was like, I'll be a dancer. I've got an extra 5 years doing that. So that's that. Yeah. So, but it's been like a grassroots, and I coached as well, grassroots the whole way up. So I coached the preschool. I coached squad as well as gymnastics. I'm a level 2 gymnastics coach and trampolining coach, and I've kind of my whole working life was always coaching whilst I was dancing. So it was only obviously when this opportunity came up, it was a bit like it kind of went hand in hand. So sorry, that's enough about gymnastics.
Well,
just on a rugby coach.
Just on a random tangent, I've just found out that I live and run a business with a muggle one. So
there you go. You never knew. So,
Thursday, that's what it is. But no, I mean, I exited the Saracens Academy around the age of 18, 19 after a leg injury, and they kindly put me in touch with former players over at the University of Essex. And I suppose that's where my kind of rugby management bug kind of got formed, because as soon as I reached there, old faces, good people that we played with, we formed or reformed the Essex University rugby team there. I ended up being president of that team as well, so we led them through the last of the Busa competitions before it became Bucks. And our crowning glory was that we ended up playing up at St Andrews in the Vars final against St Andrews, which we won. So I managed to get on Scottish national TV. Very concussed, I might say, at this time. I have to add in this, before the days of head injuries were really quite common. You've got me and the captain being interviewed after, and there is a recording of this, and quite simply, we really don't know where we are, but I mean, we remember the day fully, thankfully, but it's a bit of a haze. And we won it by 3 points. But saying that, that point exactly comes back to my point about the contacts that you still keep in your circles hereafter. I mean, Charles Goodchild, he's remembered in that game, our fullback at the time, for making one of the best tap tackles anyone has ever seen. And he now brings his son to Little Scrummers over in Basildon. So it all comes around. Yeah. So as far as our journey comes, my journey.
It's a very long way of putting it, wasn't it? Yeah. Sorry, Jordan.
Where my journey comes up, I came out of university. I got back involved with my local rugby club. I ended up sitting on the committee for God knows how long, to a point where I was really leading the club. And then Holly stepped into my life. That's it.
Off of the cruise ship.
I dragged her into it with me, and we really did make some really good leeway in terms of redefining a club identity on this, and it was really enjoyable, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then on the side of that, I had Red Sportswear in the go as well. I set up the clothing company to really support that club. And then as it grew, more and more people just became involved, and then we got to know Carly, the former owner of Little Scrummers, and it feels like I've known her forever, to tell you the truth. And we did those kits for Little Scrummers, and then she invited me to dinner one day, and I said, I've got this wonderful new girlfriend. And Carly absolutely adored her. And that night, I think she said we should have a more serious discussion thereafter, because she could see the passion I had for rugby and the skills that Holly brought to the table. And she thought it was such a good fit for Little Scrummers. And she obviously had a plan for what she was going to do, obviously in her wider journey as such. Bit of a cliche there. But, and one thing just led to another. And we are where we are now.
Yeah, and just saying that as well, like we took over the company back in June, but we are still really good friends with Carly. We phone Carly probably like daily, once a week, just to be like, are we doing this right? Are we doing this right? Is this doing that right? Obviously, we have our own ideas, our own input and stuff, but we still are very much like, she is the original big scrummer, she'll be a VP of Little Scrummers for forever, won't she?
That's it.
She'll be the legacy.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things, isn't it? We've never bought and taken over a company before, but one of the big learning curves that we've had is that as you enter this, you've suddenly got this huge platform of tools that you've never used before, and it's all developed on effectively the founders' wishes and ideas, and then we've had to teach ourselves how to incorporate our ideas into that and see what works. And we're very lucky that we've obviously got one Jordan Smiths and the web builder behind us as well. Because we keep chucking things left, right and centre at you, don't we? So.
Yeah, it has been. And I think that's one of the biggest things. One of the big things that I always kind of believe in is always to, I think for a 23-year-old, lad, I've tried and I've attempted most things. I've done you're going to find everything out now. I've done the musical theatre side of it. I've done music production side of it. I've done the technical side of it.
I've done musical.
I love that. I've done.
Holly gets excited over the music. I get excited over pyrotechnics. That's it.
Yeah. Well, we've got all of it covered. I've done. I think I've covered. Events management, all that kind of stuff, and obviously with my role in my day job with IT, and obviously going down the business manager route. Obviously, it's interesting to hear how the change of ownership came about, and I know that from a sports perspective, you never really think about that because I've worked for Little Scrummers since, as I say, I was like 15, and it's always been kind of Carly. It's always been this kind of the Little Scrummers vision has always been inspiring coaching and all that kind of thing. So it is interesting when you kind of see this change and this new level of ownership and how it kind of evolves, and obviously how well kind of you guys have kind of fitted into the role of the kind of company owners and directors with obviously the kind of elaborate theatre background that Holly's got and making everything scrumtastic and savers and all that kind of stuff, but then also kind of the business aspect that not a lot of people get to see, and obviously I've been quite lucky to see some of it with helping you guys out with the websites and meetings and things like that, and it is interesting to see kind of the inner workings of the company and how kind of you've gone from coaching gymnastics and kind of helping a rugby club get back onto its feet to now owning quite a large company, I'd say, in terms of Little Scrummers. Obviously, it's probably in the future it's going to grow and get bigger, but obviously at the minute it is over however many centres we've got. It is kind of a wide footprint for a business.
Yeah. No, absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of this the part that's always kind of really interested me is obviously with now my kind of business brain on, and obviously a lot of people that are starting off at coaching never really think of what the bigger picture is. So obviously you guys started off coaching at kind of a young age and helping younger people through, never really envisioning that 15, 20 years down the line you would be business owners of quite a large sports company.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. To be fair, my dream as a kid, I know we're going back to my dream, but I was always, I said to Andy when we got this opportunity to take over Little Scrummers, I said to Andy, I was like, my dream was always to have a dance school. That's what I always wanted. This was obviously after gymnastics and dancing, and I was like, I wanted to be a dance teacher, right? So it was still in the coaching kind of format, but obviously just dance and what my number one passion was as a kid, and I wanted to call it Pikey's Twinkle Toes. I don't know how well that would have gone down, but still.
Trademark it.
But yeah, so that was always my dream, and we actually had this conversation, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago, of just saying like how mad it is that like we're in obviously this opportunity, and I remember as well we were in the office when we got the offer, and I was. To be fair, Andy was both feet in, head in, diving straight in, whereas I was a little bit reserved at first, wasn't I? I was a bit like, not sure. Like, obviously, I understand rugby, but for me, my rugby knowledge wasn't what...
Oh, you were clueless.
Yeah.
That scrum half throw of yours said it all, didn't it? That's it.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah. It's on a podcast.
been a steep learning curve.
Yeah, but yeah, so like absolutely. So it is like I think the thing is though is from that it's just Andy's doing a throw right now in the kitchen. It's definitely that you've just got to, like, when the opportunity comes, you've kind of got to just like kind of take it. I think grab everything with both hands, as you said, like you've done everything back in the past and stuff, and it was very much me. I was very leaning on Andy, obviously, with the heavy rugby side, but obviously I knew the skills that were transferable and I could bring to the company. But yeah, no, I've had to within, well, it's not even a year yet, is it? It's June, so it's like how long's that? So months, 9 months, 10 months, I think it is. 9 months. Yeah. I was just thinking how old Larry was. Like we got him in July. So, yeah, like I've had to learn so much, but now I really enjoy rugby. Like we've been sitting at the Six Nations, and like I was screaming at the telly on Saturday.
Yeah, that was a sore subject I wasn't going to bring up today after the weekend's performance against Wales, but you know.
Well, hey, the World Rugby Facebook page has an interview with Nigel Owens stating the rules. I think it says it all, doesn't it?
But, yeah.
At the end of the day, though, if you just go by the maths alone, okay, 14 dubious points, they still won by 16, but hey, momentum changes and go. Yeah, but anyway, that's not the point of this conversation.
Yeah. But anyway, I was getting at the fact that like I think I've now got a passion for rugby that I never knew that I was gonna have. If that makes sense. So it's kind of been learning for me, but also I've now got another passion. Like I absolutely love rugby. Like my family is football. Like we're massive West Ham fans. I think my dad's proudest moment when I was a Hammerette. So I was a West Ham cheerleader. That was the closest we were ever going to get to professional footballer. So we are football through and through. Don't get me wrong, I said like rugby, but now I look at football and I kind of think, like my total perception has changed, and that's crazy to think. Like 9 months ago, I was like rugby what, and now I'm literally like, I'm like the RFE. I've done the head case,
you're in it,
qualification, literally.
But I think that's the joy of linking sports and business together, though. I mean, Holly and I are both on the same page in terms of how we enjoy rugby now, and the ability to make that part of our lives and to make part of your lives as well, and keep this going. It suddenly takes the pressure off actually owning and running a business, because it's almost like a hobby that we love.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's an internal drive now that's just natural. We're not fighting it and all this sort of stuff. We've got people behind us that love the sport and want to see it going. We've got the RFU. For all its faults, the RFU is a fantastic setup. It's volunteer-led. It's not exactly money-orientated down at the grassroots level. It's all about participation and equal play. And they've made strives to get this in. And we're able to... I mean, they cut off, though, don't they, at 7 years old. That's where Little Scrummers comes in 18 months to 7. So we're able to carve out this niche and then feed the greater beast as such through creating pathways into our local partner rugby clubs. I mean, the whole idea of Little Scrummers now works so well. We've just got to just keep it going. You'll get these kids back out on the pitch, Jordan.
Yeah, no, definitely. Sorry, I was just going to add as well. And from that, though, like with our dream now at Little Scrummers, is, don't get me wrong, it's same as Carly. Getting kids active in a fun way, having serious fun, as the phrase goes. But our absolute dream is to see someone come in at 18 months or 3 or 4, join Little Scrummers in the short space of time that I fell in love with rugby. Hopefully that family, as I said, we say family, it's like it's not just all about the little scrummer. So we want the big scrummer. That's what we call the grown-ups, by the way. Big scrummers. To fall in love with rugby and have a career through it. Like we would love to see a little scrummer end up playing for England, like or Wales, England, or Ireland. You know, depending on company growth.
Just not France. But no, I mean, I think we've told you before, though, Jordan, as well. I mean, the whole 18 months to England style dream. it is really perfectly feasible. I mean, we already know of a couple of little scrummers that are now, 14 Essex. Or 15 that are Essex from Chelmsford Rugby Club. That are, obviously well before our time, but it's there. That pathway is really there. We'd love to be able to follow it with someone. We really would.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the good things about, since I joined Little Scrummers, and obviously in the recent years, obviously we've taken over at Cambridge and obviously launching that whole new centre. Obviously Cambridge Rugby Club, compared to quite a few other clubs, is actually really well equipped. They've got an abundance of, numbers of kids at each age group, going from sixes all the way through to vets. I think they've got 3 or 4, senior men's squads and women's squads and everything like that. And I think, the Scrummers setup fits in well there, because, we've got kids who come to Little Scrummers and obviously their older brother plays in the sixes. Well, that's, being as the older brother's already there, that's that kind of natural progression moving on. And like you say, it's creating that pathway, and it's creating that engagement at a young age. Obviously, we always see, looking at it from kind of my role within Peterborough and obviously the coaching that I've done, we always see it kind of teenage level and heading towards kind of the Colts or the academy level that we call it. You normally see that kind of dip off in players, as obviously they come to GSCE years and things like that. But I think if you've got a family, I think it's quite a lot about how passionate the family is as well.
Yeah,
obviously, like you say, you yourself, Holly, never knew anything about rugby before kind of getting offered Little Scrummers. And I think that, if the situation was that you were a Little Scrummer, the interest level probably wouldn't have remained. Whereas I think if it was a rugby-based family, you do see, I mean, we've got parents at Cambridge that are obviously, the dads are very heavily involved in rugby. They played at Cambridge, and the kids haven't really got a choice to turn up to Little Scrummers, but obviously they come along and it's fun. And I think that there's 2 different kind of dynamics within families. Some of them, it's just about getting the kids out and getting them active, and obviously that's what we try and aim for, to keep them active and start that kind of development and growth from a young age. And others they are literally rugby mad, and their kid is going to play for England in the next 20 years or so. So I think that progression for the company is kind of really good. I think one of the questions that come up, I've been speaking to a couple of people today, is obviously, Andy, you've got very much a business background, obviously with Red Sportswear and obviously the clothing brands and everything like that. What has been, since obviously taking over Scrummers last year, what's been the biggest challenge business-wise that you've faced with bringing the company?
Oh, good question.
Oh, that's a thinker, isn't it?
So I didn't send it to you earlier.
If I'm being completely honest, I was a little bit naive to the scale of Little Scrummers when I first entered the talks with Carly and with Holly by my side as well. I thought it was much more franchised than it was, and there was a lot more, basically, I suppose, coach management in that respect.
Yeah, sorry.
Rather than actual business management on the back end.
Carly said to us, she was like, "You've only got to work like 2 hours a week." We were like, "Oh, brilliant." No.
She sold it really well.
Yeah, sold it really, really well.
But I'm not one to shy away from a challenge, and I say ever since leaving university, I've always owned my own businesses as such, contracting for various other wider firms. But it was an extremely lucky, I suppose, break with Carly to come back. And then once we got this, once we figured out what the beast actually was, and after we managed to get around and see all of you guys, we were then able to really put a strategy in place to maximise what we've got, because we all want to see kids participate in rugby, but at the end of the day, this is a business as well. This pays our mortgage, it pays coaches' wages, it feeds money back into clubs where we hire grounds, and ultimately we want to obviously make the best for our graduating Little Scrummers in terms of being able to continue their rugby path. So finding that balance between everything, I think, was the greatest challenge, and I think we've done that really well as of now. On paper, it works. I must admit, COVID didn't really help, but we did buy the company in the middle of a COVID pandemic, so I think that was that was just us. Why not just jump in? That's it.
We found it.
But now we've managed to maximise that time that the COVID breaks. We're very lucky from the support from the government of this sort of stuff to be able to do this. But again, the various challenges that brings. I mean, I mean, I am clinically vulnerable. For example, I suffer from Crohn's disease, so it's a challenge in my own right just to be able to run this company and be a coach when needed and all this sort of stuff. So there's a multitude of things. Really, there's not one specific topic I could really put my hands on. It's how we kind of maintain, I suppose, our standards. Really.
Yeah, no, and as well, like through this as well, because when we first were in discussions with Little Scrummers, I hope Andy doesn't mind me saying, he'd just been made redundant from his engineering job. So it was literally like a door had pretty much closed in your face, wasn't it, really?
Slammed, cool, yeah. I was a great predictive maintenance engineer. You know, we had a great big Hilton Hotels contract. That was wonderful. They all bloody closed.
Yeah.
Literally overnight. Job gone. Bye-bye. So
I think that's another thing. That obviously, I think mentally as well, you've been not just obviously.
It's hard.
Yeah,
it's a big change.
It's a big change to be in something that you've had. How many years were you there?
6 years. That was
6 years of the meetings, the knowledge, everything else of engineering. To have that door kind of slammed shut very, very quickly in your face, and then obviously this opportunity came forward with Little Scrummers. It was kind of like a little bit like fate as well, because I think it was the light you needed. Yeah. Sorry, it's getting quite deep now, isn't it? It was kind of like the light. I think that you kind of. Yeah,
it wasn't a fun couple of months after the initial redundancy, and then when Carly did make the formal offer, everything changed. I think personality-wise, love-wise, everything kind of rekindled, and that entrepreneurial spirit kind of comes out. And yeah, it was kind of like, I think, the light that kind of fantastic. Yeah, it really was. Yeah. It was fantastic. When you think you've got nothing there, and all of a sudden, a friend comes along and tells us that their plans, they think you're a good fit for what they've got, but ultimately they want to do best by what they have, which includes you guys. The foremost, Carly's biggest risk was, who does she pick to potentially take on a company that can, take these young coaches with them? Yeah. Because they didn't want to just sell to a group or another company that would just absorb and just crack on with a whole different, program of rugby and all this sort of stuff. Whereas, Holly and I, we loved what it was all about to start. We don't want to take that away from Little Scrummers. We don't want to take that away from you.
And I think we love as well, like, after obviously meeting everyone, I think everyone meeting us for the first time, we're a bit like, whoa, Holly, who are you? Calm down. Put your Scrumtastics back in your packet. But I think everyone's personality, though, just like absolutely shone through. And like, I think we saw everything that Carly saw in all of you guys. And I think she kind of probably knew that.
She planned it well with us. And so we've actually got here's some secrets for you, John. We've got a big document back office here that describes all the good points about all you guys, and it's only got better. It really has. But the initial rundown was so accurate, it was unbelievable. Because I think we can say, when we came up to meet you guys at Peterborough, meeting the Peterborough team, and there was 5 of you.
You were like, whoa!
It was nerve-wracking. And we've got to come in, we've got to be the face of this new company. We need to instill some leadership stuff. We need to make you follow us and all this.
And then love us at the same time.
We've got the beast that is Jordan Smithson and the other beast that is Callum Cross.
Yes.
And then we've got the long-term...
The legend
that is Simon Potter. And then we've got these two great volunteers, Noah and Lenny, who are winning awards and asking for... it's just... It was imposing. But then to actually break down that barrier, meet you guys, work for you guys, and then, Jordan, you're one of the biggest success stories that we've got, being able to give you the opportunity to open your own club.
But I just want to say that, obviously, like, is it kudos? Is that the right word? Kudos to Jordan, yeah. Literally, when we came up and we saw you coaching for the first time, like, I think, especially obviously with my background of just coaching in general, as I said, they're all transferable skills. It doesn't matter what you're coaching. It's just... Obviously, you need to know the subject, but it's the way you do it. And literally, me and Andy, I can remember, even now, we were standing on the side, And literally, I think we come up to you, didn't we? And we said to you, Jordan, "Oh, Jordan, do you want to teach the next passing drill kind of thing?" And you were like, okay, yeah. And then we stepped back and watched. And I remember saying to Andy at the side, I was like, "Yeah, he's one to watch." Literally, yeah. We knew instantly. Just.
And so you all did. I mean, after that day,
God, absolutely.
we knew exactly where each of you were in that respect. And like Lenny and Owen, you know, they had some serious skills. And it's great to have this headache. You've got Simon, yourself, Callum, Owen, Lenny. How do we progress this? Because there's such a great team here. We've got all of these emails and notes, all of these parents and big scrummers saying how wonderful you are. And it's like, we need to give these guys more opportunities. And that's the driver for us now.
And then just think about us talking obviously about just your club and then times that by like 15. This is literally what we took on. And that's why we were probably at the beginning, last year, obviously, we were like, oh.
And we were only able to get round 3/4 of the classes because of COVID, were we? So
the only ones we didn't go to was Walsall because we couldn't go up to Birmingham, could we? We split. We haven't seen together everyone, but we split a couple of weekends so we could make sure that we saw everyone coach. One of us did.
Yeah.
Sorry, went on such a tangent there. Sorry.
No, because I think it was.
You might be what you see is the skill that what we've brought to Little Scrummers. We'd love to hear your thoughts on how we've done so far. In your opinion, I mean, you're a long-term coach. That's it. Possibly one of the longest.
And hopefully, day.
I think Peterborough, because we were the most we're the most northern club, as it sounds, away from we were tucked away from kind of the main bulk of the classes that were kind of in the Essex area and places like that. Mm-hmm. We over the couple of years, Carly was an amazing boss. She was always at the end of the phone. She was always texting, always at the end of the kind of an email. But I think I only met her physically 4 times in the 5 years that I'd coached up until.
Right.
So for me, it was kind of to see kind of you guys come in. Obviously, we got the briefing kind of ahead of what everyone else got, saying that there was going to be new owners and Carly obviously stepping back. And I think when you guys turned up, obviously, Holly, you were quite bubbly, and very energetic. But it was kind of for me, I've always coached alongside Simon. He was the lead coach when I first started, and between me and him, it's people have referred to us as the Chuckle Brothers and all that kind of stuff because we do. Kind of bounce off each other. We do bounce off each other quite well, and we're really good mates outside of rugby. Me, Callum, and Simon, we are all really good friends, and I think that really helps us as a business and as a kind of a centre in itself. And we all we knew what we were doing. Simon would take this, we'd be setting up this. Callum would take an obstacle course, and we kind of batter off each other. And obviously with Owen and Lenny coming on as well, we did have quite a big squad compared to kind of what everyone else had kind of 2 coaches or 1 coach. And we were in our own kind of little bubble, and then when these new owners turned up, we were kind of thinking, oh crikey, we're going to get told off here. We've got 5 coaches, we've got we've got loads of people, loads of resources, and the thing that kind of for us is that we turn up to Little Scrummers, have a laugh. We don't turn up to be kind of like we would be at an academy training session or Simon at one of his girls' training sessions where we turn up and, we're barking out orders. We have just as much fun as what the kids do. And when we're seeing kind of this communication through obviously our staff Facebook group and of all the other coaches saying, oh, we've done this today, this is some videos, and you can see the kids having fun, but the coaches kind of stood there. And we're kind of thinking, crikey, are we getting kind of too involved in this? Are we having too much fun? And when you guys came up and obviously... Holly with the Disney background, and obviously yes, we're going to be fun, we're going to be really energetic, and we're going to be jumping around and all that kind of stuff. We kind of thought, we can get behind this because it's kind of that energy that kind of maybe dipped away from the company side of it. Obviously, with us being so far away, we weren't really connected to any other coaches and any of the other centres. And obviously, when you guys came in, it was all about, we are one company, we are one Scrummers family, as it were. We are kind of, we can all communicate with each other, we can all talk, we're putting on different things to kind of engage each of us as coaches and obviously give us all challenges. And I think that kind of just brought the energy and that brought back kind of, just lifted the Scrummers kind of brand as it was. it just kind of took it where it was and just moved it up that little notch just to re-energize all the coaches, like obviously in our Facebook group, and obviously the stuff that other coaches are doing with obviously the lockdown stuff at the minute. Everyone's kind of really getting involved, and you wouldn't have kind of seen that 3 or 4 years ago from coaches. They would have just, oh no, I'm in my centre.
It's because I phone. It's because I hound everyone.
Because Holly forces you to do it.
Yeah.
In such a lovely way, though.
That is true. No. But it's that kind of, you kind of re-energise the business, as it were. You came in with kind of this fresh ideas. Yes, maybe was it the best time to buy the company in the middle of a national lockdown and the COVID pandemic? Who knows?
We will see.
We will. It was. I think for us, we just wanted to get out and coach, and obviously we had. Simon's really good at communicating with the guys at Peterborough, and obviously he was keeping in touch with everyone through lockdown, make sure everyone was still doing little activities and things like that. And for you guys to come in and say, okay, well, our Scrummer season's ended, but we're going to put 4 weeks on. Let's get out. Let's get coaching. Obviously, the training we did and everything else. It kind of just re-energized everything. You kind of felt that buzz that you would have got when you first kind of come into a Scrummer session as a little kid, or you join the company for the first time. You actually witness a Scrummer session in full flow. And obviously, when you guys came down to watch as coach, I think I was told off twice for not using my whistle as much as possible.
Absolutely.
And but that was because we knew what we were doing. We kind of knew week in, week out, this is how we're going to do it. This is how it works best for our centre. And then to come in and someone say, oh, hang on, we're going to mix this up a little bit, you kind of think, oh, hello, this is kind of new territory. But it kind of re-energised not just the sessions, it re-energised us as coaches. Even
so one of the just to jump in there, John, one of the big things that Holly and I did agree on before we even met any of you was like we had to go and see as many of the coaching setups as possible, because ultimately it's your identity at the class that makes the class so successful. Yeah. We could impose God knows what.
Yeah, we could be like other companies, other youth rugby companies, where they send out a lesson term and you have to follow bang bang bang, and that's it. Yeah. Like, you don't have any say. But we obviously wanted to continue what Carly had got, but just develop that.
But I mean, one of the biggest things that we identified early on was that near enough all of our classes are partnered with rugby clubs. Near enough all of our coaches are active at that rugby club. They are the identity of that club. That has to come through the Little Scrummers class. And that's what we were so desperate to keep. And I'm really pleased to hear you say what you've just said, because it means we're getting it right.
Yeah, no, definitely. And we're... Sorry, I was just going to jump in with another little phrase. Definitely the thing we want to do with the rugby clubs, with the coaches, like with Little Scrummers, is collaboration over competition. We need to collaborate to make rugby for everyone.
That's it.
Or rugby every day.
So, I mean, Red Sportswear, okay, Red does stand for rugby every day. We set ourselves up as an individual kit company focused on rugby, and ultimately we wanted to be involved with 7s, 15s, grassroots, everything, so that we had rugby on every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I know the days of the week. Yeah. And that has always kept, throughout all of the trials and tribulations that kind of Red's gone through in its development to this. And now that we have the ability to link the two really well, finally it's kind of all coming together for us.
Yeah, and I think, just kind of with the Red Sportswear brand, I think that's kind of embedded itself really well. Obviously, you had Red Sportswear before you bought Little Scrummers. Obviously, I do have to say nice things about Red Sportswear, because you have given me lots of lovely kit for JS Coaching. But when I first started at Scrummers, we had rugby kit already in place for the kids, which was by a different supplier. And then all of a sudden you start seeing this Red Sportswear stuff come out, and obviously the balls then came with Red Sportswear, and then there was kind of water bottles and all different bits and pieces started floating around. And I think, and even when me and Simon spoke about it last year, I think for you guys with Red Sportswear, Little Scrummers, it's kind of that, and we spoke about it as well when I came to Essex. It's that it just merges so well for you guys. Obviously, you've got the sportswear company, you've got the branding, whole behind it, and it just makes it even easier for you guys to actually run the Scrummers business, as it were. You know, you can enhance both brands at the same time.
Yeah. Well, sorry, just once again to say, no, Andy, because obviously is Red. I'm a volunteer for Red.
I just give access to social media. Yeah.
He's like, you do this and do that. I was like, I'm not getting paid for this, dude. And he's like, it's all right. I'll cook you dinner. But no, and I have to admit, Andy, it hasn't been the easiest ride for Red with Andy. I don't know if you want to discuss this.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a story behind Red. So when we actually first started the company, it was called Red Teamwear, and then in 2017, unfortunately, one of the ex-business partners, who was our senior sales guy, decided to undertake a massive fraud during a period where I had to step back from the company due to personal reasons, because my father, unfortunately, was diagnosed with terminal bowel cancer. So my back was turned, and throughout this time, he managed to rack up almost £40,000 worth of fake invoices to existing clients. And then after everything happened with my dad, it all came out one day, literally, as I'd gone through the probate, with Carly being at the forefront of that, saying, do you know what this guy's really done? At the time, I had to do an emergency meeting out in Dubai for my electrical contracts and stuff. I literally got off the plane from Stansted, drove to Carly's, and we unravelled the full history. And I'm very happy to say that period has now gone, and I suppose the tainted brand that was Rugby Every Day is no more, because people have seen that who we are, exactly who I am, who Holly is, who Shane is, and Jack Reeve, who are also behind it, although they've stepped away now. And yeah, we're back on the even playing board, the starting playing field that we really wanted to build this with. And as you mentioned just then, the synergy with Little Scrummers and Red is phenomenal, because in the kit game, you need to be at a club. You need to show face. And the glory of Red at the moment is that we're at 24 clubs. I can have that honest discussion and say, if you need anything, by all means, give us a shout, because we're going to be here. We're already there. And that is starting to come through. We've got some, lovely invitation from Peterborough Rugby Club to tender. We've had a similar tender from Chelmsford. We've had discussions with Rochford, discussions with Southend, and they all kind of get it. And obviously, being led by volunteers, they want to see people. You want to meet people. You want to know who you're working with. You don't just want to be at the end of an email chain just ordering design kit off of wherever. And that's what we kind of bring to the table.
And I think as well, sorry, going back obviously to the story of Red, I think like Andy has done absolutely amazing, because a lot of people would have just given up and gone, right, that's it, that's done, because of this person who has like committed like. So I mean, he's gone to prison and stuff because of like what he's done, and he's had court cases and been in solicitors and everything else that's been going on that only just literally got ended, wasn't it, just before Christmas?
It's in its final stage now, just before Christmas.
Yeah. And it's been an absolute battle, but the whole time, like, Andy's just gone because he believes so much in just Rugby Every Day, because and just the kit you provide. So like, it's, as I said, like, and then obviously Little Scrummers obviously taking Little Scrummers on, like the fact that Red is now having this like whole new lease of life, and also like, well, I'd say well, Andy hasn't got anything to hide, and that's why he's quite happily, obviously, tell the story of what happened. But the thing is, though, it's people like Carly who phoned you up and told you what was going on, and we had like our embroiderer who we work with as well.
I mean,
phoned us up.
The fallout of these actions hit national newspapers, so people only get this one preconceived ideas. The media love bad stories, and that's what they'll throw out there.
We are kind of the underdog.
We had to save the image of my previous club, or the club that I was previously a member of the committee at, to make sure the effects didn't damage the whole setup there that we'd built together. And then moving forward through this whole...
We had to rebrand, we had to change the logo.
Everything. Absolutely everything to re-emerge on the other side. And I'm just incredibly pleased that after all the relationships that were ultimately through Red have now come full circle through Little Scrummers, and together we're now moving forwards.
Yeah, and as I say, I think. Go on, Holly.
No, I was just going to say, and we're grateful as well because, as Andy said, we were that face. We're not the people that will just sit behind an email or a phone and stuff. We're happy to turn up and be present. That's one thing that we wanted with Little Scrummers, and that's one thing we want with Red as well. We're present. We're your biggest cheerleaders with Red.
If you've ever seen me, that's a sight, isn't it? Yeah.
But as in like that rugby clubs and just teams, aren't we? Like Cat Sevens, like they've stuck with us because they know that we are good. Like especially Andy, and that like.
That we will do we do.
And and honest. Do you know what I mean? That's all people want from a company, I think, is just honesty and transparency. And I feel like with Red now, we've definitely, Andy's definitely achieved that and definitely built the reputation back up from what it was.
Yeah, and I think as a company, and in last week's podcast, obviously I have to use that because obviously this will come out next week. I obviously discussed the beginnings of obviously JS coaching, and obviously it started in the national pandemic, pretty much the same time as you guys bought Little Scrummers, and it was kind of, for me, I've obviously just a kind of bit of a disclaimer. I'm not obviously sponsored by Red to wear the kit or anything like that. It was that kind of. I always say this, I've worn so many different kits. I've worn Web Ellis and Under Armour and all different kind of big name brands down to small kind of club level brands and things like that. And when I kind of approached you guys with the idea and obviously came up with the design through the website and kind of had this idea, it was that instant kind of you could have that conversation where you were both on the same page. Like obviously me and Andy spoke quite a lot about obviously the design and how it would look, and obviously had that back and forth, and it was like you would just having a general conversation, obviously a bit like we are now. And obviously when you guys came up to Peterborough and brought the massive wardrobe near enough full of different bits and pieces, you kind of someone who was obviously investing in kit is quite a lot of money, even if you're just getting the basics, because obviously it's fully bespoke, sublimated and all that kind of stuff, so obviously you pay extra, and also you pay extra for the quality of service as well. So when you guys turned up with all the kit, you kind of, for me it was like, okay, how many other suppliers would turn up with literally a boot full of bits and pieces, and obviously from that moment, obviously it wasn't just to get in the good books, obviously working with Little Scrummers and all that kind of stuff. It was literally, I saw the quality of the stuff. I looked at kind of all the different kind of products you get, and it is literally one of the best quality sets of kit that I've worn. From the hoodies that are amazing. I really lost one of them. My partner's got that. Straight out of the box and into her wardrobe. But like the shorts, I wear the shorts every day when I go out for a jog or a run. The t-shirts, the polos, the hoodies, it's just, compared to some of the other kits where kind of you get a week in and the pocket will rip, or, you've got the thumb holes and they'll rip in the hoodies and that kind of stuff. Or you put the polo top on and it's not the right size that you ordered and it's all messed up, It is literally probably one of the best sets of kits that I've worn.
Thank you.
And that's why I kind of, every now and then there will be a post on kind of the JS coaching page that, shouting out to the Red Sportswear stuff, because yes, it's kind of helped me progress my brand. Obviously now I've got kit that's branded that I can use when I go out coaching and when I do these kind of podcast stuff for the videos and things like that. But at the same time, it's something that, you want to wear. It's not something that you only put on to go and do, something rugby related. Like the polo tops, they're that comfy that you almost forget you're wearing them, as it were.
That's so lovely to hear, and I think as well with Red, obviously when I came on board, it was very much about creating that identity for people. Like you're not just another stock item. You're not just do you know what I mean? You're not just the same as every other club, but you've just got your logo embroidered on instead of the other club's thing. Like it's that about making that identity and making it, as I said, for you, your brand. You wanted your brand out there. Like, you don't want, as I said, just a hoodie with JS on. Well, it's you. Do you know what I mean? It's what you.
It needs to look good, feel good, and last. And there is kind of like a bit of a hidden agenda that drives what we do as well, because I mean,
sustainability.
It is a sustainability drive, because I mean, I have a master's degree in environmental governance, and I'm a marine biologist by education. So
we're learning lots tonight, Jordan. Aren't you?
We are learning lots tonight.
There's a real kind of green element to what we do, and it's most noted by a recent partnership with Rugby as well. Was like, yes, get a club identity. It's long lasting. It means you can recycle kit down. You look at carbon what's it called? Oh, it's so late. So you look at the carbon impacts, the carbon numbers, landfill effects, all of this.
Yeah. Instead of chucking the kit away, just pass it to the next generation.
But it's also sustainable buying practices. If you've got a baseline identity, okay, yes, we appreciate some years sponsors are going to get in the way and things have to change. But as far as participation for rugby goes, you can recycle the shirts down the age groups. You can recycle kit down the age groups, because it's going to last 4, 5, 6, 7 years, and you are still going to look the same.
You've got
everyone buys into it,
haven't you?
My original contact top that I used as a sample that we made with Southern Affairs Rugby Club, I still wear.
That's how old is that?
It's very old.
9 years?
Very old.
I think he's slimmed down instead of gone the other way since then.
Keeps me in check, Jordan. That's what it does.
I have.
So yeah, we want. I mean, it sounds like I'm doing myself out of business, but we want to see the stuff last. We want to see it filtered down, because we don't want people buying and wastefully spending money and wastefully not using the kit.
And also sublimation as well with the inks and that. It's environmentally friendly. I mean,
the dye trade now is so heavily regulated that the factories that we partner with to make the kit, they're governed obviously by their BS standards. They have to source this stuff responsibly, and that passes through the whole network. And then, it's a minimal environmental impact as much as it can be.
Yeah.
And then as you come to what we do, it's literally getting the kits from either the Eastern Bloc where it's made or the UK where it's made. It really is going to become more UK soon because of the Brexit stuff. But
that's a headache and a half. That's a new podcast. But
it opens a whole
Sportswear one.
Yeah.
It opens a whole new door of thinking, which is it's quite exciting for me, because again, it's an older love that I had before getting right back into the rugby side of things.
But I think as well, because like you've been to see them, haven't you? You've been to both sites of manufacture, so it's not like we've just I don't know, as a club, as yourself, Jordan, as you get bigger, you'll get loads of like random Instagram messages going, oh, we do this kit for this much and we do it this cheap and everything else. Well, and that's the thing, like, don't get me wrong, there's other kit suppliers that do that.
There are some great other people out there, but what we found worked best, I mean, we used to have 4 contracts, factories, 3 in the UK and 1 abroad. Only 2 of them now survive. Unfortunately, 2 of them went under at the start of this pandemic. But it makes a real big difference, because you have to put the effort in to know what you're doing. And lo and behold, the 4 people that ran these companies, they all work together anyway.
Yeah.
They referred, each one of them actually referred us to each other if they couldn't do something. So we've suddenly got a network that already works together, and that really spearheaded the whole collaborate over competition thing as well.
Yeah.
We suddenly realised the people that are actually making a business out of supplying us and bringing our ideas to life, they're already collaborating. They're not competing at all. So we brought that forward. We magpied a bit of their ethos, interjected a bit of our stuff, and there you go. We've got our own unique identity. So.
Oh, we've also got exciting news for Red as well. Do you want to exclusive for Jordan?
What's that?
Jordan, what's that? What's that?
This is good if you don't know what it is.
Oh, well, yes.
I just had to demonstrate.
It was it made me think, this demonstration, Jordan. I must admit, but no, we've recently been put in touch. It was actually via Nick Dance, your Mini Youth Chairman at Cambridge Rugby Club. Mentioned a chap up north.
Once again, collaboration.
That's it. I managed to get hold of him at long last, and it looks like we are going to be given the opportunity to build our own line of tackle bags, ruck and roll pads, tackle shields, pitch flags, post protectors, basically all the foam products that you see. I must admit, I a scrum cap, but so if anyone knows where I can get a scrum cap from. But yeah, no, it's looking so we can really become that one-stop shop for rugby accessories now as well. And saying that it does work for hockey and cricket as well, because it's actually the same stuff, just different sizings. So yeah, it's really exciting.
So yeah, it's exclusive for you.
I see. This is one of the best kind of. I think I did loads of coaching conferences last year. Talking to coaches from a high level, and you have to kind of really. Some of them you have to really drain information out of them. And obviously one-to-one calls, you've got to kind of ask loads of questions just to get like a few answers. But at the minute, the list that I've got next to me, just making notes, you've answered most of the questions. Because the next question I was going to quickly ask you before we kind of finish was, what does the future hold for Red and Little Scrummers? Obviously, Red is now looking more into kind of the equipment side of it. But yeah, what else does the future? What can we kind of, as much as you can say? Obviously, we had a conversation the other night for stuff that we obviously can't say. But obviously, what can you say about the future of Red Sportswear and Little Scrummers?
So Red-wise, we're looking. I mean, Red's always going to be a support player now because Little Scrummer is our key focus. We just don't have enough time to do it all. And that's not to say that we can't look after what we've got. They're still a priority, but the synergy that Little Scrummers brings to Red means that we can focus on key clubs within our network. Yep. And assuming things do move forwards with certain tenders, certain opportunities, we can obviously make that work very, very easy. And fingers crossed, we really can do that. And we'd love an opportunity to be able to test that and prove it because we fundamentally think it's possible.
We know it is.
We know it is, yeah.
Let's be confident. We are. It's fantastic.
That also drives a need for Little Scrummers because actually, if Red wants to get bigger, we kind of need Little Scrummers to get bigger. And we've got these huge opportunities through, let's say, my rugby network, recommendations from big scrummers that are already in it, recommendations from our coaches as well, that we're looking to exploit and explore. And we have got some news coming in the future because we have got new classes opening, we have got new schools opening. We just don't know when yet because they're still in the planning phase.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard not to sleep away. But the idea is. No, I know. Well, the idea is with Little Scrummers is also giving.
It's going to become a single company.
Yeah, and giving people opportunity as well for full-time employment as well with us because. As I said, at the end of the day, me and Andy, we love what we do. We absolutely do. Like as Andy said earlier, it's a bit of a hobby style, but
we need help now.
But we need help to grow, and there's other people within.
We're working 25 hours a day, so it's getting to a point now where we're starting to realise that.
I was never good at maths, Andy, but that doesn't add up.
Exactly.
So the plans are to grow, but we want to grow with the coaches and the people we've already got. We want to give opportunities. We want to be able to offer more hours.
Yeah. The next 12 months focuses on maximising what we've got.
Yeah.
But also taking note of key areas and classes that we can open. Based on the recommendation from others and the people that approach
and
to us.
key people.
Basically, that represents the low-hanging fruit as such for growth. So we'll take what we can to start with, develop that in the standard that we're all becoming accustomed to. But we also get to a point we need people like yourself, Jordan, like others across the network to keep talking to us, to take on your ideas as well, because they are influential. We've got some of the Essex-based coaches that have influenced the classes up in Cambridge, Peterborough, and Walsall. We've got
Tom from Basildon.
Tom Basildon, that was a great one. Called them Big Scrummers.
Yeah,
created a whole new brand. There and then. But similarly, when we looked at the Peterborough team and yourself, Jordan, like the calm, collective nature of the way in which you coach, we've been able to bring those points, break down the action step by step like this. And like Jordan, your passing example was what really impressive when we first met you. We use that in our coaching development for new classes now. We use that when we coach new coaches. That is your skill set that we have broken down exactly how you did it and put it in. And then, we add it with Steve Reed's fun with the pocket rocket stuff and the way he delivers it. And we've got this great skill in a deliverable fashion that is ready and raring to go. It's fantastic, and that's now becoming the joy of little Scrummers.
Yeah, but we were hoping to go. In a nutshell, Jordan.
Take over the world.
Yeah, little Scrummers are ready to take over the world.
You heard it here first. Right, I've got one last question. Which is a little bit of fun that I'm going to ask everyone that comes on the podcast. I've got quite a few people lined up, so it's going to be interesting to see what they pick. So the last question is just a little bit of fun. What is your favourite takeaway, and what would your order be?
Oh.
Let's find out the.
That's a tough.
Well,
heard about all the business.
I've got it right here. In Malden, where we live, there is a Brazilian tapas bar. I know it sounds a bit dark. It's Brazilian. It's a Brazilian steakhouse and stroke tapas bar.
Oh my god, they're the best.
Do the five dishes for 28 quid or whatever it is. Right. But just make sure you get the dough balls and don't order the fish sticks.
You got it wrong because it's all in Portuguese.
It's one word in it.
It's all in Portuguese, so he ordered fish sticks, and I was like, dough balls, Andy, dough balls.
I'm a big fan of the tapas and stuff, though, for me.
Oh, I would probably go takeaway. Oh, I'm going to be typical kind of Essex and go Chinese. Plain chow mein, curry sauce, and some king prawn sweet and sour balls.
Nice.
Heard it here first, George.
That is the exclusive for today's podcast. That will be all over the headlines. Holly wants Chinese. Forget about all the business stuff. Andy can't figure out the difference between dough balls and fish sticks, and Holly wants Chinese.
But Jordan, just before we wrap this up as such, what are you doing now? I mean, obviously the coaching brand's going well. The coaching stuff is obviously here. You've really established it and kept it going through, quite frankly, one of the hardest times to even coach rugby. I mean, what's happening with the DPP stuff, Northampton, JSCOACHING, Peterborough, in kind of your nutshell? I mean, how far are you spreading yourself?
So at the minute, I obviously oversee the academy at Peterborough. We have increased our squad size, so we now have taken over our under-15 squad. So we've now got 3 squads from 15 to 18s. We've got 75 plus players, 15 plus coaching staff, and I'm kind of logistically overseeing all that. I had a development meeting with our team, my right-hand man as he is, last week to kind of rethink about how we kind of structure our academy, because like little Scrummers, we want to kind of embed that pathway from an early stage. We redeveloped the academy 4 years ago from the standard Colts setup to create that kind of pathway that when you join under 16s, you're ready to play senior grade rugby by the time you hit under 18s. So we're kind of redeveloping that to kind of move to a more kind of formal academy structure in line with kind of the work that obviously Saints do. The same kind of stuff that Tigers and Bath and all the big Premiership clubs do. So it's going to become more of a formal kind of structure. I'm currently working with the head of the rugby academy at the local sports college as well, and a couple of other colleges to kind of align what we're doing to get their students involved in terms of kind of recovery plans and getting them out coaching or analytics and stuff like that for the games. So we're kind of really growing and really embedding what that academy structure is at Borough. And obviously the kit tender's up, so who knows who'll get that. With regards to the Saints, at the minute the Saints plan is on hold, just because of everything that's going on. Obviously I work full time in education. Obviously education at the minute is not the easiest job, especially when you do IT like I do.
Say with that though, massive well done for that though. Like throughout this pandemic, like
please don't play yourself down on it, because there's very few people like are able to. And like you're the one that's kept information flowing, and you're the one that's kept homeschooling going for these parents and enabling it for them. So don't get me wrong, the NHS have been absolutely amazing through this pandemic, but it's people like yourself, the unsung heroes, that I feel like sometimes get a little bit missed, because without you, the kids wouldn't have had their schoolwork, do you know what I mean, all the calls and stuff, because we've spoke to you obviously, all the calls and the emails that you sit and take when they first went back to homeschool. I don't think you had a minute off, did you, or that first day? Like no, you didn't even have
that first week there was a lot of hours put in. for definite. And and it is kind of one of those things that the teachers are the front line when it comes to schools, and obviously schools, and very nowadays, especially from what I'm seeing from in my role, there's two different aspects to a school. There's the front side of it, which is the teaching and the learning side, and the teachers pretty much Holly's side of the little Scrummers business. It's very kind of energetic, and then there's kind of there's the people that make the cogs turn. Really, it's that business aspect of it. So for me, being in that position, obviously doing a business manager's course at the minute, and all different things, you kind of seeing that how everything interlinks, and then you take that out of that kind of situation and put it into sport and look at how clubs work, and it's the same idea. Take it out of that, put it into how Scrummers and that operates, and it's the same kind of you've always got that front end side of it, and then you've always got the back of house that kind of keep things working. And I think that I've spoken to tons of network managers and IT managers over the past couple of weeks, and we always say that everyone says that IT is always a pain and you can never kind of get anything done because all the IT's down. But seeing it firsthand from the guys that I speak to and the guys that I work with, how many hours these people are putting in just to keep it live and running, and then you kind of hear the bad news in the press at the minute that all of these big secondary schools are getting hacked and they're taking their learning platforms down, and it's stopping the progress of the kids, and you kind of think, well, at the end of the day, that's someone's responsibility. So but it has been tough, but we're getting through it. The kids come back next week. I've got to get all the devices.
Yeah, but just a massive well done, and thank you, I think, as well for you, Pike, for doing it. Definitely. Yeah.
No, thank you.
Right. We're keeping the country going.
we keep it moving. But yeah, just going back to the other bit. Obviously, at the minute, because of all that, the Saints kind of DPP thing is on hold. I'll probably look at becoming a coach for them in the future. I'm still really good contacts. I'm still joining their webinars in an evening whenever I get time when I'm not doing the Little Scrummers website. But it's just keeping that kind of constantly going. And then obviously the JS coaching thing, it kind of, with everything that especially I do and everything that kind of you see at the minute, everything kind of rolls in a peaks and troughs. You get to the peak, you're really energetic, you really want to get the content done, and then next week you kind of hit that kind of down, and something's happened, you don't really want to get up and do anything. I think with JS coaching and keeping that and kind of building that brand and keeping everything moving kind of gives you that kind of outlet, and it kind of gives me the chance to kind of have that kind of release. And obviously sitting here tonight and obviously doing the podcast and things like that, it's kind of just a way to kind of communicate what the brand is, what we're trying to achieve, what we're trying to get to. Obviously the end goal would be, we're out coaching, we're getting guest coaches into lead sessions, and we're doing loads of stuff obviously with Peterborough at the minute with the mentoring groups and obviously all the coaches we've got taking part in that. So I think it's just about, for me, I'm a bit like kind of Andy. I'll jump in 2 feet into anything. I have a really good idea. Yes, let's do this. This sounds fantastic. And then you get a couple of months down the line, you think, actually, should I put all my effort into that when I should have been doing this? And I think, I didn't kind of jump straight in with JS coaching. I kind of took the time to plan out how am I going to do it. It came off the back of some really good coaching conferences last year that we did with kind of DPP pathways and academy structures from different coaches at different levels. And I kind of took a bit more time with this. Obviously I was a bit more careful with jumping in, getting kit and all this kind of things, and how much I was getting involved, and obviously managing a relationship at the same time, and obviously kind of building that, and becoming a bond between kind of me and my partner, and obviously trying to balance everything else. Sometimes I do let it get on top of me, and I'll focus more on one thing than I should be on the other. But I
can relate to that.
I think throughout the whole thing, I think the nicest part is because of the situation at the minute, and obviously the COVID pandemic, you have a lot more. It sounds weird, but you have a lot more kind of time on your hands. Because you can't go out and do anything, you sat around a lot more. So you kind of, and obviously my brain is always ticking. From the moment I get up, from the moment I go to sleep, it's always thinking, what can I do next? How can I improve this? What stuff can I put together to make this branding look a bit better? So, I'm always ticking, and then obviously having that kind of, let's go on a day trip, let's go to the zoo, let's go do this. It kind of just allows you to kind of clear your brain and refocus onto what you kind of to get in. So I think that's kind of helped the JS coaching brand, and will help the brand, obviously just pushing it forward, because you have that time, or I have that time to kind of step back and go, actually, I need to relook at this, or let's not jump straight into that. Let's give it a few days. Let's go and do this instead. And it just, I think, as a whole picture, lockdown has really helped, obviously, me kind of refocusing ideas and how to kind of do stuff. At the same time, it's been quite boring at times because you can't go out, you can't do anything, you can't go and see anyone.
But you can't go play rugby.
Can't go play rugby, can't go out coaching, which I do miss. It does get to kind of like a Thursday evening, you kind of sit there going, oh, I should be on the pitch now shouting at some kids. But you obviously can't do that. Or I should be out on a Sunday morning at Cambridge. But I have to say, the amazing Kira, absolutely amazing junior coach. I can't sing highly enough of her. She's always there. She's always on the ball. That's my little shout out to Kira, just so you guys kind of understand, obviously, from an owner's perspective, that I actually really do appreciate Kira. She does an amazing job as a junior coach. And she's coming out of her shell a little bit, and obviously with the JS coaching thing as well, it's helping me with my skills. How can I help Kira develop, and how can I help boost her? But yeah, honestly, fantastic. Junior coach Kira at Cambridge is absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. I think
dream team.
I think as a whole, I think we just want to get back out now. We just want to get out, get doing rugby. All my players are currently they're chomping at the bit to get back out there. I think the little Scrummers are as well, and I know the coaches.
Yeah,
are.
That's it.
Weather's going to be better. Sun's going to be shiny.
Soft ground.
But yeah,
it's playing rugby.
Yeah, fingers crossed it won't be too long. But I think I won't keep it too much longer. But I think that's about it. So I just want to say thank you first of all, because obviously I think tonight was a very new experience for both of us, and I think that this kind of thing is really but I think it's kind of, from my point of view as well, it's really kind of opened my eyes to the bigger picture, because obviously I came down to Essex and experienced that kind of few hours inside the madness that was kind of the Fright group.
You got food poisoning. Don't forget that.
Nearly got food poisoned by some dodgy burgers, but we won't go down that story. But I think this has kind of really opened my eyes and kind of allowed not just me, but obviously everyone who's listening, and obviously hopefully the Scrummers coaches listen to this as well, to really kind of open the eyes to what is actually going on, and what we only see the bubbly front end. Obviously I probably see a little bit more, being a bit closer involved into the madness, but I think this kind of really gives an overall picture of what kind of you guys have brought, what your backgrounds are, what your vision is for the future, and how you guys are going to really take a company that was doing rather well and push it to that next level. And obviously, as you say, take over the world with the LSR and the Red brand. So yeah, no, it's been fantastic talking to you both tonight. No doubt I will end up talking you to tomorrow or whenever the next IT problem comes up.
You should be.
Thank you for having us though. Like, I've really enjoyed it.
No, it's been fantastic, Jordan, and I say first time for us, and I can see us doing something like this again rather soon. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thanks so much, and well done with everything that you're doing, JS coaching and everything else. So yeah, and I'm sure we'll catch up soon.
Thank you very much. We will catch up soon, and I will get this all sorted to upload now. It won't go up until next week, but yeah, no, it's been great talking to you, and yeah, I'll catch up to you soon.
Cool. Have a scrumtastic day.
And you. See ya.
Bye. Ding, 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 ding. Scrumcast with Jordan Smithson.